Thanks for tuning in to Curious Cat, where we examine the shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. I'm your host, Jennifer Holtz. Join me every week as I explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit. Welcome to Curious Cat. We spend roughly a third of our lives asleep. Do you buy the rote reason that they give, that it's when our bodies heal? And that's it. Not a very efficient pit stop, if you ask me. 8 hours to heal the damage we do during the other 16. The recent addition to that is that experts have said sleeping hours are when our brain processes, then stores our day. Really? That doesn't quite pass the sniff test for me either. I've no doubt that's part of it, but does our computer, once we shut our laptops for the evening, spend the next X number of hours processing what we created, wrote, edited, sent, and designed? No, it did that during the working hours. So why would our brains be any different? All this is a super long-winded way of saying I believe it's time to take an honest look at sleep, or what I've come to call night swimming. Great minds like Carl Jung and Alfred Einstein, Nikola Tesla, even Oprah, all have wondered what is really happening during our sleep hours. So what is happening? What the hell are we doing? Let's get into it. So let's look at healing the body as being just part of the story. If all we're doing is healing cells, then why do we wake sometimes with cobwebs of something soul-jarring still dancing through our head? Why do we wake feeling exhausted some mornings? Why is a storyline playing in our minds as we sip coffee? And if we've lost a loved one, why do we wake up disappointed not to find them still there holding our hand? It's been my journey to treat the sleeping hours as a night job. I've shared some of that with you, from brushing out the burrs on a black dog to learning that it's a form of an ancient Egyptian god Anubis that predates Osiris, to crossing over souls some nights. I know there's more to sleep than lumbar support with a Serta mattress. Even before my night swimming got downright weird, it was a place where I was able to untangle plot knots for my novels. I'd wake up with the story sorted, my brain having worked on that little tangle when I slept. I got a glimpse of the truth earlier this year when I took a spiritual protection class given by a friend of the podcast, Karen Rontowski, and her demon guy, Tommy. So in that class, Karen mentioned that it's important to cut any contracts, ties, and tethers we made as our souls traveled at night. She uses the simple word coffee to do just that. And since then, that's what I do as well. It's easy to remember because it's the first thing I seek when I wake up. For Karen and Tommy, it's common knowledge that we are astrally traveling in our sleep during our sleeping hours, and they aren't alone in that. I promise to share more soon about that. So dreams, at their very base level, hold valuable insights that can help us. I'll give you an example super quick, but it comes with a bit of a backstory. If I have the honor of knowing you in real life, then I apologize. This isn't exactly a newsflash. I felt a little lost lately. So imagine for a moment a photograph of a girl. It lies in a sunlit window, and over the years, the outline of the figure bleaches, fading into the background. Then the color washes out next, blending into some vague shade of ecru until all that's left is the hint of detail around the girl's eyes. The dream I'll share in a moment echoes the same sentiment. I opened a dream journal to look back at my August sleeps and turned to this quote by the author. It was, quote, "This is your birthright. You are born to fly. And in your dreams, you will remember the soul has wings." I'd forgotten the soul has wings. It makes me super emotional. The soul has fucking wings. Did you forget that? Because I completely did. And this episode is my journey to rediscover those wings, dust off those feathers, and give them a stretch. So here's the dream that shook me up. I call it the featherless crow dream. And in it, I was walking under a clear noon sky when a crow took aim, diving down and smacking into my stomach. On impact, feathers exploded off the crow, and the poor bird collapsed onto the grass, naked, exposed, a drop of blood forming on the side of his beak. I crouched down, shaping my hands into a clamshell as I screamed, "Crow, crow," just like willing with my entire body for the creature to live. And as I searched for signs of life in the creature, I marveled at how small the crow was now that all the feathers were gone. He was slim except for his head, and I noticed his eye had the slightest glint of life to it. He blinked. I woke up and I memorized the dream. I knew it contained an important message, maybe 2 or 10. I thought I didn't know what they were yet. I knew that much. I didn't know yet. That was the operative word. Under the gun, my brain doesn't function well. I need time with silence and my guard down, preferably mind engaged elsewhere, to sift and sort messages. So if I'm in an emotionally charged conversation, like an argument, my brain becomes one giant magic eraser. It's so inconvenient. Swaths of conversation are deleted in real time, and I'm pretty sure it's a defense mechanism, one that I developed to purge traumatic events as they're happening. But when my conflict amnesia kicks in, those hard conversations become nearly impossible. I can't track back to who said what and when and how. I'm not the only one that faces this challenge, because back in high school, way back in high school, my driver's ed teacher gave us advice that relates to this. It was, if we were ever in a car accident, refrain from making any sort of statement until our adrenaline has subsided. So after an accident, most people are suffering shock. They naturally want to feel better and give comfort to the other person. And so most offer an apology, which comes across as maybe an admission of guilt. He told us to let the police arrive and allow ourselves to calm down before we state our side. Wait a bit. So emotionally charged situations impact our ability to think. So why am I sharing all this? Dreams are a way we can safely sift through and sort emotionally charged events. But that crow dream I mentioned at the top was its own gut punch. I needed time to let my subconscious work out the solution to this particular puzzle and understand the gifts it held. Oh, and spoiler alert, I didn't take the message to heart and I suffered for it. Don't worry, I'll tell you the uglies later. Let's look at the importance of dreams. Carl Jung once said of dreams, "We also live in our dreams. We do not live only by day. Sometimes we accomplish our greatest deeds in dreams." I found he's a Greek philosopher, and he wrote, "When we sleep, the soul is lit up completely by many eyes. With them, we can see everything that we could not see in the daytime." Carl Jung also said, quote, "The dream has been regarded as the truth-telling oracle." That's my favorite, probably. As my day progressed, the featherless crow dream played in the back of my mind. I was doing research for a different episode when I flipped to the front of an old dream journal, and that's when I found that quote that I read you at the top. And I'm going to read it again. "This is your birthright. You are born to fly, and in your dreams, you will remember the soul has wings." I would go the rest of the day and the dream would just play and unravel in my head. And it really felt like the crow smashing into my guts felt like a symbol to me. I don't know, a puzzle piece falling into place, that I was the crow. And that sad crow that was left skinny and vulnerable and stripped down and nearly dead was a part of me, a big part of me, possibly the magic part of me, because I had kind of lost myself, going back to the photograph of the little girl that had faded away. I wasn't surprised, and I don't regret having to put other people in front of me for the entirety of the last, 6 months, if I actually look back and I'm honest about it. And in the process, no one asked me to do this, but I lost myself to the process of helping and aiding and lifting up and doing work to kind of go through a transition with the people that I love most in my life. I don't regret that time spent. I don't regret the end solution, which was smoother for my effort. But what I do regret is that no one asked me to lose myself during that process. No one said, hey, don't be selfish and do things that you love and remember who you are every day. That's actually my job. It's all of our jobs. And what had happened as a result of that process of the last 6 months is I was that crow. And of course, the crow in my dream smashed into my guts, my solar plexus, right? Yeah, I pretty much shoved everything down there. And recently, I'm having to deal with the repercussions of that. The body remembers what the mind takes time to shove down into the spiritual garbage disposal. And I'm processing it and I'm going through it. And my body and my mind are bringing this stuff forward. And I'm starting to find balance again. But it has been an effort. It's involved an ulcer. It's involved not being able to eat for days on end. It's involved yoga twice a day and bringing in foods into my life that I can palate and I don't feel sick after eating. And it's like baby food, basically. But slowly and surely, I am putting feathers back on that crow that is myself, my spirit. So thanks for anybody that knows me in real life or on socials and that's reached out and given me love for this process. I love you and I appreciate you. We're going to take a quick mid-roll break a little early with some promos from some of my favorite people. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about lucid dreams.
This Halloween, Oktoberpod has the double for your toil and trouble. Tune in to Oktoberpod AM, wherever you get podcasts, on October 24th to hear The Spirit Dog, a spooktacular new audio drama starring your favorite indie podcasters and written by maniacs. Then on Halloween Day, visit Oktoberpod Home Video on YouTube, where Edward October will be telling Halloween bedtime stories, a family-friendly special that's perfect for getting your children of the night off to sleep. Yes, it's double the Halloween fright and double the Halloween fun when you listen to Oktoberpod AM's presentation of The Spirit Doll on October 24th, wherever you get podcasts. And watch Oktoberpod Home Video's Bedtime Stories for Halloween, narrated by Edward October. Find Oktoberpod on the World Wide Web at oktoberpodvhs.com. Oktoberpod, retro horror for bold individualists. Pull the strings!
If you haven't heard yet, the Homewrecker Podcast isn't your typical podcast. Join us, Alex,
and Monique,
as we discuss a wide range of topics.
like spiritual healing, privacy, ghosts, conspiracy theories, health, self-sufficiency, aliens, and pretty much anything else we want.
Ghosts? Conspiracy theories? Who believes in that stuff?
We do.
Allegedly.
Supposedly.
In theory. So listen to us and subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, Google Play, or anywhere else you enjoy your podcasts.
Help us wreck and shatter conventional wisdom and ways of thinking while having some fun in the process.
Hey, that's my line.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. We're back. So lucid dreams, it isn't just a Juice WRLD song that breaks my heart because he's gone now, but it's a thing, a real thing. Lucid dreaming is when you are inside a dream and then realize, whoa, this is a dream. I can control the outcome or bits and pieces of it. So put another way, lucid dreaming is a way to remain consciously in control of your dreams. You tell your mind what's going to happen next. If the dream veers into unacceptable territory, then you take the wheel and steer it in the direction that you want. So are you able to lucid dream? I used to when I was a kid. It was so easy. My mother taught me in her own no-nonsense, matter-of-fact way because I had vivid nightmares as a kid. And after suffering through them for years and also scaring the crap out of my family when I woke up screaming, my mom asked me, or she told me actually, she said, well, you can control your dreams. You're in charge. If something scares you, change it. And so that night I did. And then it was sometime around college, I lost the ability. I don't know why exactly, but my best guess is because I was away from both parents' homes for the first time in my life, and I was safe to process some childhood trauma. So focused on that, my night swimming was about touching those sore spots and healing them. So lucid dreaming kind of fell by the wayside. Some say the key to lucid dreaming is to tell yourself before you fall asleep that you want to lucid dream. It's that simple. And do that night after night, and there will be a payoff. It may take a few weeks. The other trick I've heard is while you're dreaming, look at your hands. That will be your cue to yourself that you're in a dream and you can take control. I've been endeavoring to relearn how to lucid dream with mixed results. So last night I dreamt my father and I were walking in the rain together, hand in hand. I remember worrying that he might slip on the sidewalk because it was slick and his vision is very impaired. He was blind. He smiled and he removed his shoes, walking on the path with bare feet. And it was his bare feet, so different than his normally thick orthopedic shoes that he wore, which protected his feet from blisters or slivers, which with his diabetes could result in a systemic infection. That's when I realized seeing those bare feet, this is a dream. We continued to walk until I woke up, and that's when I realized I was still holding his hand. But I was really holding my own hand when I woke up. It was so sweet. The other tip that I found is to place a piece of amethyst under your pillow tonight, and then let your last thought as you drift to sleep be, I want a lucid dream. I hope it happens for you. So lucid dreaming's kissing cousin has to be astral projection. And here's a quick refresher if you don't remember all of season 1 episode Dream, Dream, Dream. So this came from Psychic Spellcraft, which is one of my favorite books. And it's, quote, some people can develop a skill called astral projection, which is something like dreaming in that the subconscious mind takes over. But in astral projection, your spirit actually leaves this earthly plane and enters a different reality. Basically, they continue. Astral projection is a way of releasing your spirit from your body and letting it fly free. Oh, that sounds so exhilarating. Astral projection can be used to visit loved ones on the other side, to relive moments you wish you could get back, or to gain knowledge from spirit guides. It may sound too out there to be considered real, but the authors ask us to consider this yet another type of creative visualization. So think of it as a way of opening your mind and exploring its limits, almost like a meditation. To give astral projection a try, start like you do with meditation. Find a quiet spot, light a candle or play music, burn incense and breathe deeply in and out. Then from the authors, follow these steps. Imagine a beam of white light shooting from your feet right up through the top of your head. White light is always used for protection from sinister spirits or entities, and it will be important for the journey, they say. Then say a prayer asking for protection from your angel guides. Imagine yourself tethered to your bed or the ground with a cord made of white or pure energy. Psychics use this energy to keep their souls tethered to their bodies while in the dream state and find their way back. Feel your spirit or your soul or your second body, as some call it, lift, and then rise out of your physical body. Nothing can impede it. You can rise right through the ceiling, through the apartment above you, through the roof, and travel anywhere you want. If you encounter your spirit guides when you're out of your body, go ahead and talk to them. Ask them anything you want. That's why you're in this state. It's like a college education. If you feel scared, just remember that cord that keeps you bound to your physical body and the physical plane. You can always say, I want to go back now and return to your body. There are some, and this is as far as I've personally gotten with astral projection, they experience a jolt or a sense of falling when they're just about to project. So that moment when you're drifting off to sleep and then you wake up with a start, this is when you know that you are on the brink of leaving your body. So as I was drafting this part of the episode, Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics were played on a college volleyball game that I had on in the background. I thought that was some serious, excellent confirmation. I hope it's you I recorded this episode for, and I cannot wait for what exploring night swimming will do for your life and your soul. I found an incredible article I wanted to include in the episode. It was from famousscientists.org. So they had 7 great examples of scientific discoveries made in dreams. Sleeping on it has always led to major scientific discoveries, they begin, such as the 7 examples that follow. So the author goes on to write that Dmitry Mendeleev was obsessed with finding a logical way to organize the chemical elements. It had been preying on his mind for months, and in 1869, he wrote the elements' names on cards, 1 element on each card. He then wrote the properties of every element on its own card. He saw that atomic weight was important in some way, but he couldn't find a pattern. Convinced that he was close to discovering something significant, Mendeleev moved the cards about for many hours until finally he fell asleep at his desk. When he awoke, he found that his subconscious mind had done his work for him. A logical arrangement of the elements had come to him. He later wrote, quote, "In a dream, I saw a table where all the elements fell into place as required. Awakening, I immediately wrote it down on a piece of paper." The second example they give is Alfred Russel Wallace. He traveled in Brazil and Southeast Asia recording species, trying to understand the differences he saw when species were separated by geographical barriers. For years, he asked how new species could arise, but could find no answer. And then in 1858, he had an extreme dream in the shape of hallucinations caused by a tropical fever. When the fever was gone, he found that the theory of evolution by natural selection had come to him. There are other examples in their article, which I've linked to for us in the show notes, but I thought I'd read a couple more excellent ones. Srinivasa Ramanujan had negligible formal training in math. He died tragically young at the age of 32, but in his short lifetime, he produced almost 4,000 proofs, identities, conjectures, and equations in pure mathematics. So although he died in 1920, the richness of his ideas and conjectures in fields such as elliptical functions and number theory, nearly all of which were correct, were ahead of his time and continue to inspire and direct research carried out by mathematicians today. The Cambridge University mathematician Gottfried H. Hardy, who worked with Ramanujan, expressed the thought that if mathematicians were rated on the basis of pure talent from a scale of 0 to 100, he himself would be worthy of 25. J.E. Littlewood, 30, David Hilbert, 80, and Srinivasa Ramanujan would be a pure 100. Ramanujan said that the Hindu goddess Namagiri would appear in his dreams, showing him mathematical proofs, which he would write down when he woke up. He described one of his dreams as follows, quote, "While asleep, I had an unusual experience. There was a red screen formed by flowing blood, as it were. I was observing it. Suddenly, a hand began to write on the screen. I became all attention. That hand wrote a number of elliptical integrals. They stuck in my mind. As soon as I woke up, I committed them to writing." You know, we've heard of the discovery of the scientific method, right? I mean, we learn it in school, even in elementary school, middle school, high school, college. So René Descartes built much of the framework of the modern scientific method. He wrote down this framework in his book, Discourse on Method. But one of his main lines of thought was skepticism, that everything should be doubted until it could be proved. His 4 main ideas for scientific progress were, and this is a great refresher for us, 1, never accept anything as true until all reasons for doubt can be ruled out. 2, divide problems into as many parts as possible and necessary to provide an adequate solution. 3, thoughts should be ordered, starting with the simplest and easiest to know, ascending little by little and step by step to more complex knowledge. And 4, make enumerations so complete and reviews so general that nothing is omitted. Descartes wrote that the basis of the scientific method came to him in dreams he had on November 10th, 1619. There's one other example I thought was kind of interesting from their article. It's about the fossil fish. Louis Agassiz was the world's foremost expert on fish species, both current and extinct. He'd been trying to understand the structure of a fossil fish for 2 weeks, but could make no progress. Agassiz's wife wrote about how the solution came to him in the form of dreams over 3 nights. He'd been striving for 2 weeks to decipher the somewhat obscure impression of a fossil fish on the stone slab in which it was preserved. Weary, perplexed, he put his work aside at last and tried to dismiss it from his mind. Shortly after, he woke one night persuaded that while asleep he had seen his fish with all the missing features perfectly restored, but when he tried to hold and make fast the image, it escaped him. Nevertheless, he went to work, thinking that on looking anew at the impression, he should see something which would put him on the track of his vision. Quote, "In vain the blurred record was as blank as ever. The next night he saw the fish again, but with no more satisfactory result. When he awoke, it disappeared from his memory as before." I mean, who can relate to that? We all can, right? When you're like, that was an important dream and I can't remember it. I continue, though, what the record was. Hoping that the same experience might be repeated, on the 3rd night, he placed a pencil and paper beside his bed before going to sleep. Towards morning, the fish reappeared in his dream, confusedly at first, but at last with such distinctness that he had no longer any doubt as to its zoological characters. Still half dreaming in perfect darkness, he traced these characters on the sheet of paper at the bedside. In the morning, he was surprised to see in his nocturnal sketch features which he thought it impossible the fossil itself could reveal. He hastened to work and, with his drawing as a guide, succeeded in cutting away the surface of the stone under which portions of the fish proved to be hidden. When wholly exposed, it corresponded with his dream and his drawing, and he succeeded in classifying it with ease. They conclude the article, and I really encourage you to read all of the accounts. It says, the subconscious mind is powerful. Provided the conscious mind absorbs plenty of data while awake, the subconscious mind can process and make sense of the data while asleep. Some of the greatest scientific discoveries in history are testament to the importance of sleep and dreams in the operation of our minds. Which, I mean, it's so well said, right? And it's so true. So as you know from this, if you listen to this podcast in the past, I have been keeping dream journals for over a year. I think it's been almost 2 years, year and a half that I've been keeping dream journals. And I kind of wish I'd kept them in longer in my whole life. Wouldn't that be really interesting to look back at those? And I'm kind of in awe of people that have done that. But sometimes even the most trivial dream will have little lessons. The crow dream was pretty dramatic that I shared with you because that's how my subconscious was trying to get my attention. Listen, if you don't take care of yourself as well as nurture other people, you're going to pay a price. Your body is going to pay a price, and it's going to take longer to come back from that. Sometimes it can be a simple thing, right? It just reminds you of, to do something the next day that you're worried about, or like I was mentioning, kind of figuring out something that's bothering you in real life, and it works out the solution as you're sleeping. Well, last night I had the most, it seemed like a mundane dream. It was a wonderful dream. I still have the feeling of it, almost like that residual taste of caramel in your mouth after you have a candy. But it all took place in this beautiful, grand hotel with these very tall, cream-colored walls and with this dark, dark wood. It was a gorgeous place to be, and I felt comfortable. I felt happy. I felt complete. I was there with my oldest and best friend, Deb, who I just recently got to do some traveling with, and another person that I'm not sure who it was. I want to say it's Monique Pliakis, who's become a friend of mine, and she's a friend of the show. But in the dream, things were just unfolding. We were kind of just being tourists. And then Monique had to go to a healing thing to learn some more Reiki. And Deb and I went hiking into the woods, and we found this kind of, secret kind of abandoned building. But when we came back to the hotel, she went to go do something. And I met a guy who was a comic book artist. And we started having the funniest conversation about Thor and all this stuff. It was just so random. But when I woke up, I really felt on my heart I had to share this with you. Not the dream itself, that it was powerful or profound, but the thought that there's so many people, and I don't know if this strikes a chord in you, that maybe define themselves as, I'm not creative. I'm not an artist. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I have to say, my mundane dream is proof. And I want to end this week's episode to reminding you that if you have ever dreamt and you've remembered it, any tiny bit of your dream in any of your years of life, you need to remember you are a world builder. You are an artist. You designed all that. You could be a portrait painter because you created faces for characters in those dreams. You're a stylist. You put clothes on them. You're an architect. You built cities. You're an engineer. You're a makeup artist. You're a hairstylist, and more. That you alone created your dreamscape. All the visuals, the voices, the smells, the colors, all of it was created by you. So either that's true and you are amazingly, profoundly creative, or we're astral traveling in our sleep to another place. Either way, dream life is remarkable. I hope that you have a great time when you go to sleep tonight and have some incredible dream, even a mundane dream that proves to you that you are something special. You are more than you probably think you are. And it's time to start looking at yourself that way. Thank you for listening to Curious Cat. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite listening app. And if you love the content, recommend us to a friend. Until next time, stay curious. I love you.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Are you looking for a new podcast that appeals to your scientific curiosity, but is also a little bit spooky?
Show me how I died in a past life.
Well, look no further, because this cat is where it's at.
He had concerns about the ethics surrounding AI, feeling they had achieved consciousness.
Curious Cat Podcast examines the shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. Listen every week with your host, Jennifer Holtz, as she and her guests explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit.
We were healing karma together. They were all kind of predestined to resolve something.
Listen on all your favorite streaming apps and continue the conversation on Twitter at CuriousCatPodCA, or find Jennifer and all her links at Jennifer L. Holtz, spelled HOTES.com.